Hi, hello, and welcome to my channel. Welcome back if you've been here before. Today's video is going to be a little recent reads. I'm going to talk about some books that I've read in January, February, and one book that I read in March. I figured I would just add it to this video before I fully forget the plot and forget what I want to say about it. So I'm really excited to share the books that I've read so far. And I won't lie, I've definitely been struggling to want to make any content. Everything feels so heavy in the world right now, and I've definitely been struggling keeping up and just trying to not overwhelm myself and feel super anxious. And it's funny because today I've just been feeling overwhelmed with like personal things and also just the world in general. And I saw that one of my favorite like comfort YouTubers, I love her videos so much, Taylor Tippett, she posted, and I was like, oh my god, thank God. And when I was talking to Jacob about how I was like, I don't know if I'm feeling up to making videos, like, does it even matter? He was just kind of like, well, maybe you're someone's Taylor Tippett. And immediately, like, just started crying because I don't know if I am anyone's Taylor Tippett. Like, I don't know if I'm your comfort creator, but I always go to YouTube when I'm feeling super overwhelmed and I just need a little bit of comfort. I have my people that I go to, I watch their videos, and it always helps me feel a little bit better. So I hope that if anything, my video can bring you a little bit of comfort, a little bit of calm, just like a moment to like think about something else and not everything that's going on around us, because it's just been so much, very overwhelming. But hopefully it'll make me feel better too, just like sitting and talking about books. That could also help. So yeah, I'm going to talk about books. I think I might also include some movies at the very end and some TV shows that I've been watching. I don't think I'll go too in depth on those, but we'll see. I think that's all I have to say. This is going to be super casual. Also, it is so bright in here. It's literally after work, but daylight savings happened, so we have so much light. I have so much light to work with right now. It's kind of throwing me off. I also have my cup of tea because I feel like I'm a little bit sleepy, and I have water, so hopefully this will power me through. But so far this year I have read 7 books. I closed one of the shades because it felt like aggressively bright and like the sun was hitting me. But anyways, the very first book that I read was People We Meet on Vacation, and I read it because I wanted to watch the movie adaptation. I had a friend who was hosting a watch party, so I had to be ready for it. And in People We Meet on Vacation, we were following Poppy and Alex. They meet in college, and they basically meet because they find out that they're both from the same town, so they're gonna carpool back home. That's kind of like how their friendship begins. They get closer and closer. They start having these like yearly summer vacations where they go somewhere and it's like their summer trip. And in the book, it jumps back and forth. So we will jump back to like when they were on vacation somewhere like 7 years ago, and then it'll jump back to present day. And we realize that they are no longer friends and something happened, but we don't know. So that's also part of it. You're trying to figure out what happened. This is a friends to lovers trope. It is a very slow burn, and I loved it. I really enjoy friends to lovers, and I think the slow burn and also just like getting to know these characters and their dynamic and how they become friends and their banter was so good. So I really enjoyed like seeing that. Because of that, the movie did not hit. I think that if it was a mini series, it would have had more time to like cover more of the trips. We would have been able to see more from Poppy and Alex and their friendship and how they became close. Didn't love the movie. Loved the book, like loved it. There was just something in this book. I think because they also go on vacation, so we get to see them on vacation, was a lot of fun for me. So yeah, that was the very first book I read. Honestly, it was a great distraction as well. I needed romance. You'll see that later in the month I read some more romance books, and it was necessary for me. The next book that I read, I actually own, and it is Beautiful Worlds, Where Are You by Sally Rooney. This is the last Rooney I had left to read. I think I was most intimidated by this one, but I really enjoyed this overall. I can't say it's my favorite Sally Rooney. I think my favorite is still Normal People, and then I think I really loved Intermezzo next. This one and Conversations with Friends, I'm a little unsure where they fall. For me, I think I might have enjoyed my time with Conversations with Friends a little bit more. In Beautiful World, Where Are You, we are following 2 characters. We're following Eileen and Alice and their friends. Alice, I don't remember what she does for work, but she basically moves away, and the main way that they communicate is by sending each other emails. The way this book is kind of divided it is you'll get like Alice's perspective, and then you'll get the email that Alice then sends Eileen, then you'll get Eileen's perspective, and then you'll get the email from Eileen, like reflecting upon the day, which I thought was really interesting because you get to see like what's happening in each of their lives, and then you get to see how they tell it back to their friend and like how they were feeling, where you might have not gotten that in their like perspective. I really enjoyed the emails. I thought it was a fun like break in between each of their perspectives, and even just like seeing how they talk to each other, you get more of an insight into like their dynamic, their relationship, how they show each other that they love each other, and it can be very different. I had a lot of fun like reading through their emails. It kind of felt like we were getting an inside look. It also felt like a lot of the questions that they were having is stuff that has definitely come up for me, and it's just fun to like see them kind of work through it and like how the other person responds to it. We also see like relationships that they are getting involved with. Alice meets someone through a dating app, I believe, and at first they definitely don't hit it off, but then they continue to like see each other. And their relationship in general was really interesting for me to read about. Like I didn't fully get it at times, but then we also get to see Eileen, and she's getting close to someone that she's already known like her whole life. So Simon is religious, he goes to church, and it's funny like seeing Eileen and Alice talk about it. Like they don't really understand it because of who Simon is as a person. It's interesting hearing like their perspectives of their friend Simon, and also Eileen at one point then goes to church with Simon, and she has like a different view of him from going to church with him. So there's something about Sally Rooney and her characters and the relationships and the dynamics between her characters that I really enjoy. They feel really human to me. They feel messy. They don't always say what they're feeling, and they lash out at each other, and I just really, really enjoy that in her books. But there's also this like part in, I wonder if I even highlighted it. I go through phases where I either annotate or I don't annotate at all, and I kind of feel like I probably didn't annotate at all. Hold on, let me see. Okay, I could not find the exact quote I was thinking of, but there was like a conversation between Alice and who was the person that she's talking to? Felix, and they're just kind of talking about like how they think that they're probably bad people, and how they're always just worried that someone's going to find out that they're a bad person. And I don't even remember like exactly what was said, but it was like, I feel like people are always trying to, like, you always just have this anxiety that someone's going to find you out, that you're a bad person. But there's also this part that I really liked, and I think it was Alice saying this, potentially, I don't remember. Maybe we're just born to love and worry about the people we know, and to go on loving and worrying even when there are more important things we should be doing. And if that means the human species is going to die out, isn't it in a way a nice reason to die out? The nicest reason you can imagine? Because when we should have been reorganizing the distribution of the world's resources and transitioning collectively to a sustainable economic model, we were worrying about sex and friendship instead, because we loved each other too much and found each other too interesting. And I love that about humanity. And in fact, it's the very reason I root for us to survive, because we're so stupid about each other. So yeah, that was Beautiful World, Where Are You? I'm so glad I picked it up. I was so intimidated by it. If there's a book that's been on your shelf that you've been intimidated by, just try it. Read the book, try and make your way through it. What did I read next? The next two books are both Ali Hazelwood books. I needed romance books so desperately. So the first book that I read was The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood, and the second book that I read by her was Love on the Brain. I remember going to the library, and it was right before we were about to get our first like big snowstorm. This was such a rough winter. I won't lie, we got so much snow. But I remember going and I was like, I just want to have my silly little romances and just like stay in and read. I specifically went looking for a bunch of Ali Hazelwood books, and I got 3. I got the third one, which I don't remember the name of it, but it's the third one in the Steminist series, and I didn't get around to that one. I'm going to read the synopsis for The Love Hypothesis and Love on the Brain because I just think the descriptions are so funny. I think it just shows like how much of a fun time it is just by the synopsis. For The Love Hypothesis, as a third-year PhD candidate, Olive Smith doesn't believe in lasting romantic relationships, but her best friend does, and that's what got her into the situation. convincing Anne that Olive is dating and well on her way to a happily ever after was always going to take more than a hand-wavy Jedi mind trick. Scientists require proof. So, like any self-respecting biologist, Olive panics and kisses the first man she sees. The man is none other than Adam Carlson, a young hotshot professor and well-known ass, which is why Olive is positively floored when Stanford's reigning lab tyrant agrees to keep her charade a secret and to be her fake boyfriend. But when a big science conference goes haywire, putting Olive's career on the Bunsen burner, Adam surprises her again with his unyielding support and even more unyielding six-pack abs. Suddenly, their little experiment feels dangerously close to combustion, and Olive discovers that the only thing more complicated than a hypothesis on love is putting her own heart under the microscope. Like, that sounds so fun. And it was a lot of fun. I had a great time reading this. There's something about Allie's writing that just like really pulls you in. I was giddy. I was laughing. She made me laugh out loud so many times. I think she's really, really funny, and her humor works really well with my humor. So it was fun, and the smut scenes were so good. And normally I'm very easily cringed out, but this was so good. It was predictable, but I had a great time. I really, really loved it. So that was the love hypothesis. And then Love on the Brain, like an avenging purple-haired Jedi bringing balance to the mansplained universe. B lives a simple code. What would Marie Curie do? If NASA offered her the lead on a neuroengineering project, a literal dream come true after years scraping by on the crumbs of academia, Marie would accept without hesitation. Duh. But the mother of modern physics never had to co-lead with Levi Ward. Sure, Levi is attractive in a tall, dark, and piercing eyes kind of way, and sure he caught her in his powerfully corded arms like a romance novel hero when she accidentally damseled in distress on her first day in the lab. But Levi made his feelings toward B very clear in grad school. Arch nemesis work best employed in their own galaxies far, far away. Now her equipment is missing, the staff is ignoring her, and B finds her floundering career in somewhat of a pickle. Perhaps it's her occipital cortex playing tricks on her, but B could swear she can see Levi softening into an ally, backing her plays, seconding her ideas, devouring her with those eyes, and the possibilities have all her neurons firing. But when it comes time to actually make a move and put her heart on the line, there's only one question that matters. What will B do? I also had a great time with Love on the Brain. Once I started, I couldn't put it down. I was so giddy. I also really liked this whole NASA workplace. I thought that that was a lot of fun. Her assistant, I don't remember her role. I don't remember the character's name, but their dynamic was really funny. The one thing I'll say is B has this like arch nemesis in Levi, but it never feels that way in the book. Even as I was reading it through, I was like, I don't think he hates her. I just think he's being weird around her. He probably likes her. So it was just funny. She kept being like, he's my arch nemesis over and over again. And I was like, he doesn't hate you. But she just kept saying it. And I thought that that was funny. But something about Ali Hazelwood, I think she's going to be an author I go to whenever I feel like I need to just like escape and have something really light and fluffy and fun, because I had a great time. Okay, the next book that I read is Dogs, Boys, and Other Things I've Cried About by Isabel Klee. I was able to get an advanced reader copy through NetGalley, so shout out to NetGalley and the publisher for letting me have access to this. I was so excited. I have been following Isabel Klee on her account on Instagram, Simon Sits, for several years now. She basically takes in foster dogs and shows you their journey from like when she gets them to when they get adopted. I always really enjoy keeping up with all of the dogs that she's fostering. So when I saw that she was coming out with a memoir, I was super excited, reached out to the publishers, and asked for a copy. We're basically following Isabel. It starts off in her early 20s when she's in New York. She's going to school. She's trying to figure out like what she's doing with her life, what she's doing in school. Does she want to go to school? Is there something else that she wants to do? We're also getting an insight into her dating life in New York and some relationships that she gets into where they're probably not the best for her. There's situations where it's kind of like, ooh, I can fix him. So we kind of see her as she's like navigating those relationships, navigating dating, trying to figure out like what she wants to do with her life. And eventually she does get a dog. She gets Simon. We see her take care of this dog, and this like bond that they now have to one another. I also was really excited to get to read more about her and her relationship with Jacob, which is her now fiance. So yeah, it was really fun to see like how they met, what they kind of had to navigate to get to where they are now, which they seem like such a strong and loving couple, and I love them together. Me and my parasocial relationship with them, but I think that they're so cute. It was just fun to like get that little insight scoop into like how they met. It felt very much so like a friend letting you know about everything that's been going on in her life and the things that she's learned along the way. I will say I wanted a little bit more of like the foster dog world. I think we get a lot of like her dating life, but I think it's also key, like you definitely have to have that information to see like how she's grown and how she's gotten to where she is now and how confident she is in her relationship and how she accepts love. I wanted to learn a little bit more about her fostering and even like some of the organizations that she's worked with, because I know she's gone to like other countries to help with different like spay and neuter programs. So I kind of wanted to learn a little bit more about that, but that's not necessarily what her memoir is about. It literally says dogs, boys, and other things I've cried about. I mean, she's a very talented writer. When she like films her videos and writes about the dogs that she's taking care of, I'm always in tears. I think that she's a beautiful writer, and this was a great read. I was very impressed by her memoir and her writing. If you follow Isabel on Instagram, I think that you would really enjoy her memoir. I do think that even if you're not super familiar with her, you could get a lot out of this. You could enjoy it. I think once her audiobook comes out for this, I think it's gonna be so good. It's gonna be read by Isabel, and I feel like once it comes out, I'll probably re-listen to it. I think that that will add like another element to her memoir. But yeah, that's Dogs, Boys, and Other Things I've Cried About by Isabel Klee. I don't think I mentioned when the release date is. I think it's like, actually don't even want to say in case I get it wrong, but I will have put it somewhere on the screen. So look out for that. I'm so excited for her to release it, and she's also gonna be going on a book tour, which I'm also very excited for. The next book I read, I also own, and it is a chunky book. It is Say Nothing by Patrick Radden Keefe. I'm not going to hold this because it's a massive book, but I'll put it over here. And I finally have read it. This book has been on my TBR, like my physical TBR, for years and years now. I found it in a free little library one time, and ever since then, I've been like, I need to read it. I need to read it. I haven't read it. I've put it on so many lists of books that I've wanted to read and prioritize. Still never read it, but I finally made my way through it. It took me 3 months. I moved through this book so slowly. I started it in December of 2025, and I finished it in February of 2026. So it took me 3 months. I took my time. I feel like it's a very heavy book. There's a lot of stuff that happens that's just really intense and really heartbreaking. So I wanted to make my way through it very slowly because I can only handle so much. And I really enjoyed like breaking it up that way. I think it would have been a lot to read it all at once. I think it's possible. I think that the writing is so captivating. The way that Patrick is able to retell this time of history. I'm not someone who does really well with historical books. I feel like I just struggle to really retain that information, and just I think that he did an amazing job. Like, for someone who doesn't typically do well with historical books, he had my attention the whole time. Like I said, I moved through this very slowly, but it's not because I wasn't intrigued. Like, the whole time I was captivated from the very first page, the very first like sentence, it grips you. This book basically covers the Troubles in Northern Ireland, and it starts off with one specific family. We are following Jean McConville, and it's the night of her abduction, and she is a 38-year-old mother. She's a mother of 10 kids, and they don't know like where she's being taken. They don't know when they'll see her again. So yeah, it starts with Jean McConville and her abduction, and then we go back and get a bit of history on how everything started, and like the IRA and the different iterations of the IRA and how it changed over time. We then also see like the Price sisters and how they kind of got involved in the IRA. They first started off peacefully protesting, and something happens where they kind of question if peacefully protesting is the way to get their freedom. The Price sisters in general were so fascinating because their family was so involved. Like, her parents were also involved with like the IRA and the resistance, and we just see how things progress and how everything is so interconnected, and it kind of jumps back and forth. So we'll start off with G. McConville, we'll go to the Dolores, we'll go to the Price sisters, we'll go to Jerry Adams, we'll jump back to Jean McConville. I was so gripped the entire time reading through. There was many times that I gasped and I was shocked and I was like, Jacob, oh my God, this thing just happened. It was just a very captivating retelling of the events that happened. I will say that there was an article that I came across when I was looking through reviews. It's written by Ed Maloney, who's someone that is mentioned in Say Nothing and is someone that Patrick went to for like when he was researching the Troubles. So it's called An American Reporter in Belfast, How a New Yorker Writer Got So Much Wrong in His Best-Selling Book on the Troubles. So I thought that this was a really interesting read. He talks a lot about like how Patrick Radden Keefe doesn't really follow like the Chicago style format of, what is it called? The Chicago style guide, where it handles like footnotes in books and like citing to other references. When you're reading through the book, you don't exactly know at what point in the book is he referencing something else, like another resource, because it's not like numbered or anything. I think that's also a reason why I enjoyed this book so much though, is that I just kind of didn't need to worry about footnotes. But I don't know if it would have been helpful to just like add a number so that like mentally as a reader you would know like, oh, this is referencing something else. And then if you wanted to look at it in the back of the book, you could. So that was something that was interesting that was mentioned. I guess something else that Ed Maloney mentioned is that Patrick Radden Keefe worked at the Pentagon for like 2 years, and he wonders if the people that he interviewed, if they would have been as open to letting him know in like certain pieces of information, if they would have known that he had previously worked in the Pentagon. And same for Ed Maloney. He said, I don't know that I would have been so open to like providing him all of this information if I had known. If you've read Say Nothing and you're curious about it, I'll include this down below. And I am curious to read Ed Maloney's book because he wrote a book called Voices from the Grave, I think. So I'd also be curious to read a little bit more. But as like a intro into the Troubles and learning about this time in history that I didn't know anything about, this was an amazing like starting point. I feel like I was able to learn so much in a way that gripped me and I think will stick with me for a very, very long time. So really enjoyed my time with this book. It was heavy. I think working through it slowly was definitely a good call on my part. I'm just glad that I finally read it. I finally got around to it. I'm so happy about that. I will definitely check out his other books. So yeah. That's Say Nothing by Patrick Radden Keefe. The last book that I want to talk about is Sabrina and Corina by klee fajardo-anstine. This is one of the books that I put on my 6 books for 2026, and I've officially read it. It's also a short story collection that I've had on my shelves for such a long time, and this was such a solid short story collection. I am not someone who typically likes to read short stories. I have some that I've really, really loved, but I feel like most often I just struggle with short stories, but this is absolutely going to be one of the short story collections that I recommend. Each and every one of these worked so well. I didn't feel like I was left wanting more. There was so much she was able to do in such few pages for each of these stories, and she did it so beautifully. This is a debut short story collection and it was excellent. I had such a great time with this. I want to share my favorites. Did I write these somewhere? Actually, let me give you a little bit of a synopsis of it. So, klee fajardo-anstine's magnetic story collection breathes life into her Latina characters of indigenous ancestry and the land they inhabit in the American West. Against the remarkable backdrop of Denver, Colorado, a place that is as fierce as it is exquisite, these women navigate the land the way they navigate their lives, with caution, grace, and quiet force. Sabrina and Corina is a moving narrative of unrelenting feminine power and an exploration of the universal experiences of abandonment, heritage, and an eternal sense of home. For my favorites, Sugar Babies, Sabrina and Corina, Sisters, Remedies, Galapagos, Any Further West, and Ghost Sickness. And honestly, I really enjoyed the other ones as well. I just think that these ones lasted with me a little bit more. Sugar Babies is the very first one that we start off with, and I loved it so much. We're basically following our main character, and I think she's in like middle school. I can't remember, but she basically has an assignment where they have to take care of these babies, and it's a bag of sugar, and they get assigned a partner. She is just like so resistant to like wanting to do anything with this sugar baby. She lives with her dad. Her mom is no longer in the picture. She went off to Denver, and every now and then she'll come back home, but you can tell that there's like a lot of tension between her and her mother. There's like this one specific scene where she's like with the bag of sugar, and she hasn't been treating the baby well, and she's just kind of like whispering like, I don't think I'm very nice to you. And oof, something about it just like hit me. So it started off with a bang, and then the rest of these stories were just equally as like gut-wrenching to me. I think I just really enjoyed seeing the relationships that are in these stories. I feel like it deals a lot with grief, generational trauma. What is the word I'm trying to think of? Oh, it's like leaving my brain. If I can think of it, I'll put it somewhere there. But yeah, I just really enjoyed the short story collection so much. I think it's going to be one that I want to go back to and read some of these short stories again and again. And I feel like that's when I know that I really enjoyed a collection of stories. I do have some quotes that I want to read. The first quote is, sometimes a person's unhappiness can make them forget that they're part of something bigger, something like a family, a people, even a tribe. That quote was from Sugar Babies. The next one is, her stance was wobbly and unrefined, as though she had given someone else permission to wear her skin. That's when I knew she was forever caught in her own undercurrent, bouncing from one deep swell to the next. She would never lift me out of that sea. She would never pause to fill her lungs with air. Soon, the world would yank her chain of sadness against every shore, every rock, every glass-filled beach, leaving nothing but the broken hull of a drowned woman. And that is from the short story Any Further West. That was a tough one to read for sure, but the writing is so beautiful. I also really loved the final story, which is Ghost Sickness. I think that was just such a perfect way to end like the whole short story collection. Once you read it, you'll see why, but I think that it was like the perfect way to wrap it all up. I love the short story collection so much. I'm so glad I finally got around to it and prioritized it. It is definitely worth it if you are looking for a short story collection. I highly recommend this one. But those are all the books that I read. Like I said, this is from January, February, and March. Sabrina and Corina I read in March, but I just wanted to talk about it before it just left my brain. I also wanted to share the movies that I've watched recently. I have been tracking them in my notes app because my phone simply does not have enough storage for me to download Letterboxd, so I have not downloaded it. In January, I read People We Meet on Vacation, Moonstruck, Mississippi Masala, No Other Choice, and La Chimera. In February, I read Save Yourselves, Before Sunset, The Fantastic Four, First Steps, The Moment, Old Boy, and then in March I watched Baby Girl. And I have to say, from all the movies that I've watched, Moonstruck I loved. I had such a great time. No Other Choice, I also had a really good time with that one. Save Yourselves, that was a fun, silly like sci-fi movie. I highly recommend that one. And I also really loved Before Sunset. I just love the trilogy so far. I still haven't watched the last one. That will be soon. I've also been watching TV shows. In January, I watched Pluribus. That was fun. Finished the first season, and now I have to wait until the second season, which I have no idea when that's coming out. In February, I started back up with Abbott Elementary. I'm not super caught up. I think I have like 1 or 2 episodes to watch, but I love Abbott so much. It's like such a comfort watch. I also watched Singles Inferno, and that had me and Jacob in a chokehold. We could not stop watching. Whenever we had a chance to watch something, that's what we had on the TV. In March, we watched Offline Love, which I highly recommend. It is like a dating reality show where it's like 7 or 8, I can't remember how many people, maybe it's like 10 people. They are in Paris and they don't have their phones, and they're just kind of navigating across Paris. Or not Paris. Did I say Paris? They're not in Paris, they're in Nice. They kind of just bump into each other. Like, they have these guidebooks that they walk around with, and if they see each other with their guidebook, they're like, hey, I'm also here for this like reality TV show. And it's just so cute. I loved it. I loved the music. I loved the editing style. I loved the like panel of, I guess, judges. They're not judges. They're just commentating on the episodes. And I feel like it filled the void in my heart after Singles Inferno was done. I've also started Love Island All Stars. So I'm like 12 episodes deep at this point. That's what I'm currently watching right now. So making my way through Love Island. That is everything. That's everything I've read, the movies I've watched, the TV shows I've been watching. I would love to hear what you've read so far this year. Do you have any favorites? Do you have any movie recs? Do you have any TV show recs? Please let me know down below. I hope that you enjoyed watching, and I will see you in my next video, which will hopefully be a vlog. Let's see if I get my act together, but I hope you're good. I'm sending you all my love, and I will just talk to you then. Bye. I spilled my tea everywhere. Okay, bye.